Uncle Freddie, tell me about the story where Sal was injured in war and you had to go across Paris, I think, or
Okay,
France.
I'm going to start from the beginning.
All right.
When we first met in the war, I was with the 4th Infantry Division Combat Engineers.
Right.
He wound up being in the 5th Infantry Division Combat Engineers. Just look how coincidence that is. We both had our training in combat engineers. And when the Germans made the breakthrough through our lines towards the end of the war, he was with Patton's army in the south of France. And
Who's Sal?
My brother Sal, and one of the divisions was the 5th Infantry Division, and he was attached to the 5th as a combat engineer. So they came up from the south of France and cut the German supply line off. They drove across our lines 150 miles. They had Germans dressed in GI uniforms, speaking slang English, with MP armbands on, disrupting the traffic behind the lines. But Patton cut their supply line off, and Sally is with the combat engineers attached to this 5th Infantry Division, and he located me just by the markings on the bumpers. All the outfits have their outfit numbers on the bumper.
And what was your unit?
Huh?
What was your unit?
I was with the 38th Combat Engineer Regiment.
And you guys did what?
We went in front of the infantry many times to build the bridges for them to get across the river.
Guys. Get it ready for them. Okay.
Or take out the mines when they ran into minefield. Tank ran into minefield. Call up the engineers. We generally sat behind the lines, which was a good thing, you know.
Sure.
But when we had to go do it right up in front, take out the mines. And Sal recognized my outfit by the markings on the bumper. Just looked and located me, and we spent the day together.
What outfit was he in?
He was with the combat engineers with the 5th Division.
So he was supporting similar, but different.
Right, but with a different division.
Okay.
It's just, what a coincidence. And right after
And where
we
was
met, this was in France.
Okay.
They had broke through our lines. It was in the wintertime, just around Christmas time. They found a weak spot in our lines, and the overcast, they couldn't observe the movements. They broke through our lines and drove 150 miles. Patton came up with his army from the southern France and cut them, and we surrounded them. Cut them off their supplies, and that was the end of that operation for them.
So, did Sal get injured?
Then right after that, we spent the day together that time. Then after that, they were making an assault crossing against the Saar River, which is in Germany. And they built the bridge, but the Germans had them under observation all the time. And they even had the position zeroed in with the artillery. When they got finished building the bridge, then in came the artillery. He was stuck on the enemy side of that river. And he had a veteran, real American Indian was a veteran in that outfit. And he was like his friend. And he says, don't get nervous. Sal was a rookie. He went from basic training overseas and into combat.
How old was he?
He was 32 years old.
How old were you?
I was 22 when I went in.
So he was quite an older brother.
Yeah, he was like 8 years old.
How many kids between you?
I had 3 brothers, so there was four brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay.
We were 6.
And so he was one of the older?
He was the oldest.
And where
Can
were
you
you?
imagine? And I was before the youngest. I had a
Okay,
younger
so second
sister.
from
Yeah,
the
I got a younger sister.
Okay, so go ahead. So they broke through the lines, and,
Right, and he located
and
me.
the American Indian was taking care of him.
Right.
And did he get injured in that whole time?
Yeah, because they swam across the river, but that's the last thing he remembers, getting out of the water, and he got hit with some of the shrapnel from the mortars. They were lobbing them mortars, and that's the last thing you remember. That's one thing, though. Our medics picked up our wounded right away, back to an aid station, flown back to England to a hospital. When he recuperated, he's on his way back to his outfit. The war ends in Europe, he winds up getting reclassified in a PX outfit right on the English Channel, Cherbourg. Now, at that time, I got reclassified, and I was with a company of Italians. They were screened. They were put into companies and help. They wanted to help against the war effort. They had uniforms like us. They had Italy on the shoulder patch. A trucking company. Now, our main mission was to take all the ammunition from the dumps to the railheads, because everything was going to be shipped to the Pacific area, because the war was still continuing in Japan.
And what year was this?
This was 1944.
Okay.
45, because the war ended in Europe in the early part of 45,
right? June.
So I wound up with this company, great duty. I was in charge of drawing supplies at trucking company. All the Italians were truck drivers. I used to draw 5,000 gallons of gas a week in 5-gallon cans, but you had to account for every drop.
And what would you do with that in 5-gallon cans? Where would you take it?
I brought it back to the company. We had to fuel all the trucks.
All the vehicles.
Those GMCs.
5 gallons at a time, though.
Pour them into the tanks. Imagine, those trucks got 4 miles on a gallon. The Army truck.
So your truck had just 5-gallon tanks times 100 of them.
Right. 5,000 gallons. We used to consume in a week. That was my duty, to draw the supplies for the trucking company, also other supplies.
Sure. Oh, so you were just fuel, you were other things.
Right,
obviously.
other things, yeah, for the company.
Water?
We were building it in private houses.
For the officers?
Yeah, we were only 7 Americans. We had a cook and a chef. We used to draw Class A rations. That meant fresh meat, fresh eggs. It was great duty. I had 2 clerks. I had to keep track the number of the truck, miles per gallon, gallons consumed. You had to account for every drop, because the black market was rampant.
Sure.
Gallon of gas, they used to get $20.
So wait, so you spent obviously time in Italy during the war?
No, not Italy.
Oh,
I went in the invasion D+3.
Okay, so you were France mostly. Mostly or all in France?
Mostly, yeah. I was right with that outfit right until we got to the German border.
Okay. And so Sal, though, got back because of his injury, went back to England.
He went back to England. He's recuperated back to his outfit.
He came back.
He wound up being he was reclassified. He wound up in a PI because he got wounded. And the war was over in Europe. He got reclassified. He was in a PX outfit. That's where all the GIs used to buy their cigarettes and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a great duty for him.
Yeah.
You know, and he was there, and I was near the German border, across the whole country. We kept in contact, though.
So tell me, what were your other siblings doing then? Because there's Sal, who's 32, and you were 22, roughly.
I had 2 brothers that were disqualified.
Serve.
Yeah,
Okay.
They couldn't serve.
Were your sisters involved at home doing things?
My sister worked with my dad. She was like a secretary. He was in a small contracting business.
Okay, but they weren't doing anything to support the war?
No,
okay.
no.
There's a lot of people home were doing
Yeah,
other things.
only mentally they were supporting.
Right, of course, they were supporting you two
Right.
with prayers.
Right. And anyway, I was in this outfit. I got put on special orders. I was able to drive across France and see him a second time. That was an amazing thing. And then she's
Is
got
this
the
the
write
photo
up.
here? Can
Yes,
we see
I
the
have
photo?
I have the
Let's see, Mary.
So what I said was, this is about the 2 brothers, okay, Sal and Fred. So what I'll do is, I'll make copies, I'll laminate them, and I'll send them to you.
That is awesome.
The hometown paper put it on the front page.
Yeah.
Well, they should. That's a special thing. And you met in
Watch for
Luxembourg,
that.
We met in Luxembourg, yeah.
the tiny country.
And you got to see that.
And so he found you by looking at a bumper going, that's that unit my brother.
Right, he knew what the outfit I was in, and he had to ask questions. Where are we? Where we're billeted? But he located me. It's amazing.
That is amazing.
Isn't it something?
That is absolutely amazing.
Before that,
It's like Saving Private Ryan, actually.
before that, it was right after Christmas when they won the breakthrough. I met a family in Luxembourg. Christmas, they were celebrating Christmas just like we do at home. I got invited, and I was like part of the family. Big spread on the table, anything. They were so happy to see us because they were under the thumb of the Germans.
So were you there as the war ended, or were you already home by then?
No, I stayed. My original outfit was shipped back to the States, but they were on their way to Japan. When the war ended in Japan, they were all discharged. I'm still in Europe. I said, wait a minute, my outfit's over. I was back in the States.
So did you help with some of the after war?
Yeah, well, I had to stay. I stayed with this company more than 3 or 4 months after everybody else. My outfit was discharged. But it was great duty. In fact,
what happened after the war over there? Because here, obviously, we celebrated. We were all happy.
Oh, they were celebrating there too. They couldn't do enough for the GIs. Really, we were the how do you presented getting them away from the dictatorship of Germany,
right?
Because they were under the thumb of the Germans.
So even the French were grateful.
Oh yeah, the French were very grateful. Now,
not so much
they
today.
forget.
Now
They
forgot it. They forgot it. They don't remember how many boys we left in St. Maurice. There's rows of crosses there. I wanted to go back for one of the. They have a ceremony every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
And many.
That would be.
Yeah,
really
many
special.
of them.
Have you been back?
I never went back, but I wanted to go once since,
Yeah, go back to some of the places you wandered through, right, during your uniform days.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I never got back.
That's awesome.
Isn't that a great story?
And before we broke through, there was the landings. We were trapped on the beaches. 3,000 planes bombed front line positions of the Germans. After the bombing, most of the Germans were in shock, and we broke right through and drove to Paris. Imagine and you just watch these flights, and the planes were close together.
Yeah.
They flew in formation, and you could see once in a while it got hit by the firing of the Germans, and they just kept going and dropping the bombs.
2 weeks ago, I went to Churchill's bunker in England.
Did you?
Yeah, and it was really fascinating because the whole story was, he knew if he didn't get the Americans engaged, that
they were through.
They were done. And it took him a long time to get FDR.
Yes.
But the bunker,
I got to tell you the story
you
how.
have got to go there.
I got to tell you the story how we got into the war. Our Navy was originally stationed in California.
Sure.
And Churchill wanted us desperately to get into war. And Roosevelt and Churchill were very close.
Yes.
The only way they could get us into the war, they had to create that disaster with the Japanese attacking us. We actually instigated them to attack us. Our Navy was stationed in California, and we put it in Hawaii, and then we had our ships sailing into Japanese waters. Once they attacked us, then the whole country was behind the war. Before that, we were in a deep depression anyway,
sure, yeah.
And the country was saying, "Hey, we got our own problems here." That
So
war
we
was across
stuck a stick in the beehive a little bit.
Right, that's what we did.
And they attacked us.
And
that made FDR say, "Okay, Winston."
Oh, that made the country get behind it then, But the country originally.
So when I was in the bunker, that whole story was played up, but you didn't realize what a guy Winston Churchill was.
Oh, yeah.
And like when you see current leaders, they go into a bunker and they disappear. He used to go on the rooftops to watch the bombings of his country.
Let me tell you, the Germans drove the English Channel, the English army into the Channel. They came over with private boats to get the remnants of the English back to England. They were ready to take the government to Canada, because
they were.
Hitler had everything.
The wall.
He had the he had the
Atlantic.
He had control of the air. He had the paratroopers. He invented the glider troops.
Right.
We copied him.
Right.
We copied him. We copied him and did better. And we had no experience really. But immediately this country turned around. Our factories that were making cars started to make tanks and planes. We were making 5,000 planes a month.
Well, you got to get there. You've got to see the bunker.
I just got to
You'd be
get
fascinated.
there. Right.
Funny that what a guy he was, and what a leader he was.
Yeah.
To draw us in, knowing that that
Right.
was his
No,
only
that was
ticket
the only
out.
way to get us in.
His
That-
only
that-
ticket
it
out.
was only that was his salvation to get us into the
So
war.
in the bunker, there's several pictures of himself, Stalin,
Yeah.
and FDR
Do
sitting
you know?
together.
Do you know the Russians were an ally,
I know.
a partner of
And
Germany?
you think about that now.
And it's just crazy
after
that he attacked them in the wintertime with troops that he took out of Africa.
Yep.
He was a maniac, that's why. His generals definitely were against that. You got an ally, a Russian. You don't have to have a second front.
No.
If he didn't attack Russia, England would have been gone. They were ready to take the government to Canada.
But he lost too many people in that fight,
Right.
and it distracted from the other
Right.
side. Yeah.
You know what stopped him in Russia? He got 5 miles within Moscow. In
Yeah.
spite of the winter,
And
the Russian winter
and
stopped
then they
him.
stalled. Yeah, it wasn't so much the forces,
Right.
it was the winter, right?
And the Russians were used to that winter. And besides being the winter time, then they were able to defeat him on that front.
Well,
And that was the beginning of the end.
I was thinking of you a couple weeks ago when I was in London.
Was
And I
you?
was like, I was because when Churchill flew, he was a very active leader during that whole thing. He
Oh,
flew
yeah.
40,000 miles. He flew during the period of the war
Right.
to visit and inspire the
Oh yeah, he met with Roosevelt many times. He became chummy with him, and he says, "You gotta help me. You gotta get there."
He totally did. And yeah, you have to see. It's nothing special.
No.
I mean the bunker, but it's
Right.
kind of neat. It's right in the heart of the city, and I told you, man, I kind of diverted.
Which
my,
city that was the
Right in
bunker?
London.
Right in London, eh?
I know this is my grandma.
and so
They bombarded the hell out of
And
London.
he used to go to the rooftop of the building, and I forget what it was called, 10th Street, I'll call it, but
And
it was
watch.
something that,
Right
right across the street from Big Ben. And he watched the bombers come in because he wanted to tell his people,
Right.
you know, I know what's
got
going
it.
on, I'm not
Right,
hiding, I'm here
right.
for you, I'm the guy on the roof.
Right.
It gives you goosebumps when you think about that versus, you know, today's leader that goes and hides in the bunker.
Oh yeah.
He wouldn't do that. So anyway, so thank you, Uncle Freddie.
That's quite a
It was
story.
great story, and I love to hear it. Thank you.